welcome to the podcast from the Cornish Stitcher. I'm Ness, or Vanessa, and I live in a little town in southeast Cornwall in the UK. Welcome if you're new here, and welcome back if you're a pre-existing viewer. So this is my podcast about all things knitting, crochet, sewing. I run a small fledgling business called the Cornish Stitcher, funnily enough, from my home in Cornwall, and hope as time goes on to be able to feature some of those ideas and products that I make as well. I haven't got any with me today. But yes, so I will go through and I will talk about sort of home news, finished objects, works in progress and new acquisitions, of which there are a couple. So if you're a viewer that's a returning viewer, you will know that we have recently been to France and to Paris. So we had a wonderful time. We spent the first day of our holiday visiting my very best friend who lives in Brighton, and spending some time with him and his partner, and it was just phenomenal. But I have a real fear that I've discovered of walking on piers. I always knew it was there, but Brighton Pier is quite long, and it was a really rough day sea-wise, and the sea was crashing underneath, and I just didn't feel particularly safe on there, of which was to much hilarity from my friend Leo, Matt, obviously, and the boys, who took great mirth in trying to make me walk across the most rickety parts of the pier as well. But I did pluck up the courage, and Leo and I walked right to the very end. So it was a lovely time. But yeah, please let me know if anyone else has these kind of weird fears. I can't swim, so that might be why. I was unable to swim and get into the water until I was 15 due to ear problems, and so then the fear has become so ingrained, and so therefore I think that's probably a part and parcel of it. But yeah, and I kind of had visions of the pier tumbling away. I think I watched too many disaster films probably. But then we made our way to France, and the vlogs are all on YouTube before this video, so if you want to have a look, please do. And it was just amazing. We had fantastic weather. We had one thunderstorm on our first day in Paris, which lasted for about 20 minutes, half an hour, and then was gone. And then we had a little rain shower on our last full day in Paris, and that was it. And then we came back to the UK, and the day I didn't vlog was a visit to Whitstable. So I have wanted to visit Whitstable for about 25 years. I saw it on a cookery programme when I was much younger, as a teenager, and was like, oh wow, I really want to visit there. And then it's kind of become a little bit of an ethereal place in my mind, and I managed to visit, and oh my goodness, I was not disappointed. All of the people who live in Kent, you are blessed. So my dad is originally from Kent, he's from Beckenham, so I have family spattered all over Kent, but have not really visited that north coast since I was a teenager. So, but I had never been to Whitstable either, but I just fell in love with it. So it was amazing. It was just, I'll try and pop some footage at the end, but I loved it. So it was really fantastic way to end our holiday. And then we went to see my aunt and uncle for some dinner before we left on the Saturday. So it was wonderful. Yes. Anyway, on to knitting. So last time, I think I talked about in my podcast that this was on the needles. So this is a podcast. This is a cowl from my own pattern. You may remember I made a colour work cowl, so I used some of the dimensions of that to come up with my own version. I had this yarn in stash. I bought it last year at Yarndale, and it's a Ducky Darlings Dragon Spirit in a 4-ply. So I've held it double, and essentially I've done 132 stitches, I think 132 or 134 stitches around in knitted in the round. I've done 7 rows of 2x2 rib at the bottom and the top, and then I've just done stocking the net stitch all the way down, and I love it. I'll pop it on. I got to wear it first of all in France, because on our last day in France we went back to the coast and it was quite warm, when we were in the sheltered parts, but then it got really, really windy and really blowy on the beach, and so this was really handy to kind of have like that so that you could actually breathe and the wind didn't take your breath away. But yeah, I love it. So I've worn it a couple of times in this country, but as you can see out the window, the weather in the UK seems to have gone out of its rainy stage, which we seem to have had for about 6 months, non-stop, and we have had the break of a really lovely couple of days. So it's been quite warm, far too warm for a cowl. So this hopefully now can be popped away and then used as we approach the autumn later in the year. But yeah, I love it. So I love the way it's knitted up. I love all the little flecks of colour. It's just a beautiful yarn. So I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. The drape, it's slightly shorter than my other one, down to the shorter rib, but I think I prefer it. So yeah, I'm really loving how it's worked out. So it was really quick project. So yeah, that's my only finished object, because I have some whips but no finished objects. Just bear with me. Yes, so yes, I had some questions. I am in the studio, so the she shed / studio / craft room is finished, and actually what I'll do is I will pop some footage in this part of the video now, which I took before I came in this morning. So this is the outside of the studio with bifold doors. Here is Maya, who seems to spend most of her life in here. So I'll take you in through the doors. So here is a nice easy chair for us to sit in. This is my side. So lots of storage on the shelves, 2 sewing machines, lots of bits and pieces, and areas for storage, which will be really useful. Pan around, more storage. These Kallax units are amazing. So these all have got, my side are the pink and the flowery ones, and they've got my fabric in, various different kinds. And then pan round, and this is my mum's side of the studio. And then up there, it's just some useful items and the loom, etc. So yeah, so it's really useful space. I love it. Planning up there. But this is primarily a workspace for me. So this is primarily a sewing space at the moment rather than yarn. Although saying that, all the donated yarn is just down there. That was donated from my friend's mother who passed away. So yeah, so this is a very much a working space for sewing, to kind of get the business going up and running. So yeah, I'm really excited. Also, this is the view from the easy chair. So I've got a view of the lovely Acer, the woods at the back, strawberry plants in an old disused water butt, my dad's greenhouse. So yeah, it's a lovely view, and the sun is shining, finally, yay! So I hope you like that brief introduction to the working space, but I'm loving it. I'm loving having somewhere to sit and sew. And whilst I say in the video that I am using it primarily for sewing, the easy chair has become a lovely place to just kind of sit and knit and crochet for a little bit at a time, especially as the days have got really nice just lately. Right, so on to whips. So my sweet shop blanket continues to grow. So I've now done, and I was trying to do a minimum of 2 squares a month. So that at least by Christmas I would have had done 24 squares and all of my advent from this last year. But while we were in France, I managed to add 6 squares, no, 4 squares. So January, February, March, yeah, April and May, but I think that I'll just keep these as April's. And the majority of these yarns are Lay Family yarns. There are a few exceptions. This one I dyed myself, but this is Lay Family, this is Rose's Moments, and this is Rose's Moments. These were left over from previous projects. This is Lay Family yarns. This is Lay Family yarns. This is the leftover, some of the leftover yarn from my cowl, but this is Lay Family yarns, and this is Lay Family yarns. And I love them. I love the colorways working. Yeah, it really is a beautiful blanket that I'm just really pleased with how it's knitting up. It's easy to do. The reason I have more squares than or more triangles and squares than I thought I would do is I fully intended to take my jumper that I was doing, a colourwork jumper, if you remember, in pink and sort of a dark maroon colour, and I had knitted all the way down to here and got to where the colourwork starts, and to split for the sleeves, and I just didn't like the way the wool was knitted, the yarn was knitting into the fabric. I just didn't like it. You could see all the increases, and it just wasn't great. And then I was totally off with how many stitches I was supposed to have, but when I reverted back to the pattern, I had followed it completely. So I'm not sure what had gone wrong. So I've frogged it right the way back. It's now rewound into balls and placed back in stash for a while. And so instead of doing that while we were in France, I did some more of the Sweet Shop blanket squares. And they were perfect because we had a 20-minute commute each day into central Paris from the Airbnb that we were staying at. And journey time. And so I did that. And I also did my other whip, which is this one. So I saw this, it's a moonlit shawl, and I saw it on Franny D Makes podcast and on Ali's podcast from Little Drops of Wonderful. I'll link both of their podcasts below, and I saw both of them have made this shawl, and I just loved it. So I had a yarn that I purchased at the East Anglian Yarn Festival from James Makes Yarn, and it's in the colourway Malibu Barbie, and I knew that this is the sort of thing I wanted to make with it, and so I am totally in love with it. So I'm on the frilled edging now, and so I've had to come down a hook size. I'm on a 3mm hook. I'm doing it in 4-ply, but I've had to come down to a 3mm hook because the 3.5 was just too gappy, and I just didn't like how it was crocheting up, although that stitch marker there says 3.5, but it is a 3mm that I'm on now. This stitch marker is wonderful, and it came from the Pigeon's Nest. I'll also link her below. She does them, she makes them herself, and on this one I know I've gone down, but sometimes when you put projects away you think, oh, what was I using? Was I using a 2, a 3, a 3.5, a 4? Whereas she sells all of these in the hook sizes, so you can pop them on your projects and just remind yourself when you pull it back out of hibernation. So yeah, I love it, and it's really nice size. It will fit. My hair is in the way, but obviously it's got bits to go, so and on the edging, but I'm loving it. So yeah, that's a moonlit shawl, and it's a Sandra Paul from the Cherry Heart podcast. It's one of her patterns. It is a paid for pattern, and I've got sort of this much yarn left. I love it. I love it even balled up. It's just beautiful. So I've not got much to go on that, so I'm hoping that by the time I come back sort of next week or the week after for another podcast, it should be a finished object. I'm really hoping of that. Yeah, so it was really lovely. It's a really simple pattern actually, particularly the main body of the shawl. You just crochet up this bit and doing increases and decreases, and then you pick along the edge to do the frilly edge. It's just lovely. I really love it. Just looking at my notes, and I also saw it on the Giddy Yarns podcast, so it seems to be quite a few people are making it. Yes. Oh, next whip. So I have cast on a pair of socks, and if I can pull out the yarn details, bear with me. So this is a Jibiru Yarns, and it's in the colourway Black Forest, 4-ply, 400 meters for 100 grams, and it is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon, so perfect for socks. Pop that back in if I can, maybe not. But I am just on the toe. So I'm going to make myself a pair of shorties using this. I've said before, I don't particularly wear anything other than trainers from large parts of the year. So I've not really knitted myself any socks, but I fancied a pair of shorties, so I'm hoping that I can finish these quite quickly, because obviously there's no leg to do. But I'm loving the flecks of colour as this is coming up. I really like it. I thought, will I or not? Because I really liked it in the skein, but sometimes obviously when it knits up it looks very different, but I really like it, and I love the flecks of dark and light colours that are coming through. So those are a pair of shorties for me. And then I have a work in progress that's not particularly beautiful. So I've spoken before about how Monty, who is my 10-year-old son, is obsessed with my blankets, and I have crocheted a woodland blanket from Attic 24, and most mornings I find him wrapped up in it, summer or winter. He tries to take it to the beach, he takes it to all sorts of places, it comes in the car with us, and so out of sheer desperation I said, would you like your blanket of your own? And he said, yes please, but I'd like a patchwork blanket that looks like Elmer, because I saw one on your Ravelry page, and I was like, did he? I don't know, but I think he means Instagram, that someone had made. And so I am in the process of just making a square a day, or picking it up where I can, with his choices of colours, and it's just from acrylic stash. So it's not particularly stunning. I'll stand up, bear with me, you can see it then. So yeah, but it will take all the use and abuse that a 10-year-old who never stops moving is going to give it. So he can wrap himself up in it. I'm not going to be, he was after this, and there's no way on this planet he's having a blanket made of hand-dyed yarn. So this is the next best thing. So he loves it. He loves all the random colours. He really wants a kind of luminous orange to go in there that he's found in his own. So he's dabbled in crochet himself and can knit. So his older brother shows no interest whatsoever, but Monty has shown some interest and now knows how to knit, but chooses the most lurid, bright, sunglass inducing colours, which I would not have in my stash at all. So we've got a Slimer green and the brightest orange you ever did see. So he's trying to sneak those in, but it's his blanket, so I don't mind. But it's just something easy. I pick it up in the morning, and first thing in the morning I have a cup of tea and kind of bash one of those out, join it up, and I know that I've done at least one square a day for him, so it shouldn't take more than a couple of months. But he's loving it. He's like, oh wow, when will it be finished? So yeah, it's really good, and I'm really pleased with that. Yeah, I think that's it for whips. I've managed to get it down, I think, to 4, but there will be 5. So I'm doing a test knit for a project that's for much later in the year that I'm not allowed to show on here. So there is another whip, but I won't be allowed to show you until sort of August time, I think, August, September time. But yes, and that's using some really pretty coloured yarns. So I'm really excited about that. So I do have 5 whips, but 4 I can show you. So on to acquisitions now. I'm going to Wonderwool on Saturday. It's now Sunday, the 21st of April 2024, and next Saturday my friend Jen and I are going to Wonderwool. So in theory I should not be purchasing any yarn prior to going there. My stash is fine. I have enough in my stash. I don't have an obscene amount in my stash, but I do have an adequate stash. And then I went to Paris. And on the last day, if you've watched the vlogs, you'll see I went to some wool shops in Paris on our final full day. It was Mummy's Day, so I managed to coerce them into going to 2 rather wonderful wool shops. Now, one is called Little Weasel, and I purchased this beautiful delight from there, and it's just lovely. It is, I just love it. And I looked round and round and round and just kept being drawn back to this one. I also purchased some needle stoppers from her. This is her card there. And then these are the details. So if you are in Paris, or you're going to France, or she's in the Passage de Grand Surf in Paris. If you Google her, you'll see. And this shop is magnificent. It spans both sides of the passageway, and it's just beautiful. So I love it. And then prior to going, I had Googled, which I think I talked about in my last podcast, wool shops, yarn shops in Paris, and had seen a whole range. But in amongst this, there was a indie dyer who had come up on the search, who used to have a bricks and mortar shop until COVID, and then because of COVID closed the bricks and mortar shop, and now just does online orders and pop-up shops. And one of these pop-up shops happened to, she only does them a couple of times a year, and one of them happened to be whilst we were in Paris. It would have been rude to not go and see her and support her. So as we went through, Matt said to me, choose 3. I was only going to go for 1, so I did choose 3. But in my defence, there is at least 1 project earmarked for 2 of the skeins already. So this one, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do yet, but this is just the most glorious reds and pinks and oranges. And this is called Calcifier, and it is just stunning. I just love it. And I'm not sure what I'm going to make with it, but it's going in my stash. And then I then saw these 2. And this one is called Happy Accident. I mean, I think if anybody produced this, it would be the most glorious happy accident ever. Just beautiful. And the company, the lady is called Le Bien Ami, and I'll pop her details down below as well, because she does do mail order. But in amongst all of this, I also got some floof and some mohair. It's mohair silk, so it's called Confetti Cake. And my plan is that this one and this one I'm going to pair together and hold double and make a Sophie shawl out of them, because I think the pinks in this will just pick out the pinks in this, and it's got some yellows which will pink out the peaches. I was like a kid in a sweet shop. If you see the footage, you can see me just being, oh my goodness. So those were my Paris purchases. And then whilst we were in Whitstable, I bought some fabric to make some bags from, which I'll try and pop a picture up here of that fabric. It's beautiful. It's Italian fabric, so it's not something that we can get here. So in a couple of days' time, hopefully those will be, or I might do it for my next podcast and then pop them in my Etsy shop then. Although I am thinking of coming off Etsy. Etsy are crippling me with fees. And so I'm thinking of maybe doing a Shopify shop instead of Etsy. And if anyone has had experience of Shopify, if they can pop that in the comments, that would be really useful, because I've only really started doing the research. But if anybody has any hints or tips, then please feel free to give them to me. That would be really most welcome. And then obviously last time I talked about my purchase of Hercle Durkle. Well, that arrived. Oh, it surpassed all expectation. I just love it. And my plan was maybe to make socks, but no, I don't want to make socks because I don't want to. And this is my ongoing problem. I buy 4-ply yarn to make socks. And then I think, well, I don't want to. I'm going to put the light on. That's a bit better. I don't want to make socks and hide them inside my shoes. I want people to see the beauty of this yarn. And yeah, I'm not sure what to make with it yet, but it's just, I just love holding it. Gaynor and Kelly at Lay Feminine. So Gaynor from the Tales from Cuckoo, and Kelly from Lay Family Yarn. You have made an amazing job. I just love it. Oh, it's beautiful. And then yesterday, Matt and I went so I had to go and pick up some yarn for this test project that I'm doing in Exeter, and I had to, so then Ethan wanted a day of car spotting in Exeter, so Matt and I ended up with an unexpected few hours that we could spend in the local area. So we decided to go to Topsham, which is a beautiful, I'll put a picture here, it's a beautiful small town. It was a town, it's now on the edge of Exeter, which is an estuary side town, so the river comes in and it's just beautiful. But they also have a wool shop, which as I got out of the car, I was saying to my mantra to myself, I must not go in the yarn shop. I must not go in the yarn shop. I went in the yarn shop. I did only buy 2 minis. So I bought 2 minis. Actually, this light is not so good. I did buy 2 minis. This is a beautiful blue. So this is in the colourway Sea Spray. It's got Stellina in. And this is in the colourway Apricot Tulip. And they are both Eden Cottage Yarns minis, and they're for my Sweet Shop blanket. So I bought them with a purpose in mind. So those are my acquisitions, which I don't think is that bad. I do warn you that next time I film, so I'm thinking I might do a vlog at Wonderwool, if anyone would be interested in that. Please let me know, pop it in the comments below, and I will do a short vlog at Wonderwool. And then my next podcast, hopefully I'll show you what I purchased at Wonderwool. So I'm really looking forward to that, and a road trip, and I can't wait. Yes, so if you've liked this podcast, if you could like and subscribe, possibly down below, I would love that. Pop a comment, let me know how you are, where you're from. I'm loving reading the comments, I really am, and I'm astounded at where people are from. It's wonderful. I've had local viewers and viewers from the other side of the world, so it's just yeah, I'm just blown away. So thank you very much for all of the support and likes and subscriptions that everyone's done. Yeah, and so until next time, thank you very much and take care. Bye.